Identity management. This is anything around user identity, or I guess endpoint as well. But under the identity users, if you can see, this is basically local user management. You can add a local user. Right, that is maintained on ICE. For the group, it's just a group of local users, as well as the endpoint. FYI, under the identity section, you don't see endpoint there because when you need to add new endpoints, then you actually go under the context visibility page that we saw earlier, right? So identity here is just exclusively used for user, local user. But for group, right, you have a group of endpoints and users, as you can see right there. And later on, you can use this as part of your authorization policy if you want. External identity sources. So ICE supports an integration with external identity sources, and these are the list of supported sources: AD, LDAP, ODBC, Radius Server, RSA token, Samuel provider, or social login. Identity source sequences is just a sequence list or order list of identity sources we just saw. And then settings, you can create user custom attributes for the local user. If the default one does not satisfy what you need, you can create a custom one down there. Authentication settings deals with password policy, so we're going to do the same thing as what we did with the admin, just because it is the lab. I'm going to disable all the complexity there. Again, make sure whatever you configure comply with your company security policy. We don't want to disable user account. Definitely not suspend accounts. Go ahead and click save on that. And then there's account disable policy. Let's see what we have there. Nothing is checked there. That's fine. Endpoint purge. This is for you to schedule endpoint database cleanup. By default, guest and BYOD registered endpoints are deleted after 30 days. As you can see right there, based on this condition, elapsed day greater than 30. If this is not what you want, go ahead and disable them. Otherwise, you'll be wondering why your guest endpoint disappear after 30 days. Let's go ahead and edit and disable. Save. You can purge immediately as well with the purge button down there. Endpoint custom attribute, same deal. You can create custom attribute for endpoint. Then we are moving on to network resources. This is where you add the network devices that will be interact with ICE, whether it's Cisco or third party. We were here earlier when we went through the interactive help. We're definitely going to be coming in here and adding more devices in the future videos when we start the configuration. Default device is what happens when a device trying to talk to ICE is not listed or explicitly added under network device, what response you want ICE to make, right here, whether it's disabled, which means it's going to deny the request completely, or if you want to configure like a default share secret for those. You have an ability to define the minimum characters for the radius share secret. By default, it's 4, so you need something longer than 4 when you add the network device. Network device group is just a group of the network devices, and for us, let's go ahead and create a few here. We're going to be dealing with the switch, so we're going to create a group called switch with the parent group of all device type. And by the way, there are 3 default groups in there for the device type, the location, and the IPsec. Because we added under device type, you can see the switch right there. Okay, we got switch. We'll add a firewall. Same deal. All device type. Okay, if you highlight this and click add, it will automatically set to all device type. Device line controller. And then router. All right, network device profile. This is where you define profiles for your third-party network devices. I mentioned earlier that the Cisco ICE support third-party devices, and this is where the profile for those third-party vendors are defined. All right, and we already have a video SEC 0209 that we went through this section. External radius server, if you have a radius server that you want ICE to do a proxy on, so basically forward any radius request to the server, then you add them right here, and then you can group them using the sequence. Same deal. There's a couple more menus with the drop-down NAC manager. Unless you still have a Cisco NAC manager, which I haven't come across for a very long time, that you need to integrate with, then you can do it right here, but this should be considered pretty much legacy. And it wouldn't surprise me if it goes away eventually. External MDM, if you want to integrate ICE with MDM server for mobile device registration and compliance for BYOD use case, then you add them right here. Location service, ICE can integrate with Cisco MSE server to obtain device location on the map, although MSE server, same deal, I haven't come across that for a while now because they all should be replaced with CMX. But this one is for MSE. Then you can integrate it with the MSE server, and then later on you can permit or deny device access based on their location. We also covered this in ICE 2.0 video series. The video is SEC 0211 if you're interested in that. Device portal management. This is a collection of web portal ICE uses for various scenarios. We will spend more time on each one later in this video series when we get to the relevant sections or use cases. For now, let me give you a quick high-level overview of this. Blacklists is a block page that used to block a user, right, with the user see when their BYOD device is marked as lost or stolen. The BYOD is the portal page for BYOD onboarding, so the BYOD device has to go through that. Certificate provisioning is a web-based certificate enrollment when you use the ICE internal CA. Client provisioning is the page to provision posture agent. So if you do posture assessment and the endpoint doesn't have the agent installed, you can download it through the client provisioning. The MDM, you will be seen during the MDM registrations or compliance check when you do MDM integration. My Devices portal for the users or BYOD users to manage their BYOD registered devices. Custom portal files is a file repository that ICE can host on Box, right? And it can be referenced throughout the different portals when you want to customize the portal pages. And then the settings, you've got the maximum number of registered device you want to allow the employee to have, and as well as the retry URL, which is what happened when the device failed onboarding. You want to redirect them somewhere. PXGrid. This section, I would say, has been revamped completely because it used to be a page that looks different. We are not seeing anything right now because the PXGrid service is not enabled on the node, although we have looked at PXGrid multiple times already in the past video series. We will check this out again later because of the change in the GUI. You can see PXGrid is disabled right now. Feed services, ICE will automatically obtain new device profile from Cisco. By default, it's enabled. It's set to 1 a.m. right now. You can click update now for first you want to test. Make sure you have a good internet to the cloud, and then you can click update. You also have an option to perform offline menu updates if your ICE is in the air-gapped network. And then lastly, under the administration is threat-centric NAC, right there, third-party vendor. So ICE can be integrated with Cisco AMP or third-party vendors like Qualys or Rapid7 for vulnerability scan. So ICE can query these systems for vulnerability score, and you can configure authorization policy to react to those accordingly, whether it's to quarantine or denied access. All right, we're now coming up on our last menu here, which is the work centers. This was introduced back in ICE 2.0 to help the user configuring ICE on the common use cases. We started to leverage this in our last ICE video series, which is the 2.2, and we plan to do the same in this video series. Since we are going to end up going through most of them in more detail, I'm not going to cover them here except for maybe the, TrustSec and the passive ID, since these two topics were covered extensively in our past videos already, so there would not be any labs or videos on these topics in this video series. All right, so for the most part, nothing has really changed on both features, but at least let me point out what are new in the 3.0. Let's start with the TrustSec. Let's take a look with the TrustSec. ACI menu is new, right, in this version, because now ICE can now send, as you can see right there, it's a VN or a virtual network mapping information to ACI, and this is in addition to what it was already capable of, which is the IP to SGT mapping. So this is the new in 3.0. And then I think that's pretty much it for ACI. For the passive ID, there was an introduction to the MS-RPC protocol, which is a more reliable way to get user events from Active Directory, those lock-on, lock-off user events to capture the user IP information. And that's basically a better alternative to using WMI. And also to check the user login status on AD. I believe it's only show up after you add the Active Directory, so we're not going to do that. But just FYI, that is also a new feature on 3.0. But as far as the web interface for those two work centers, workflow, there isn't much change to that. Now let's take a look at what remains on the GUI. Right, on the top right-hand side here, we've got the license warning. So if you are out of compliance, the chances are you're going to be seeing this orange exclamation. For us, it's just letting us know, reminding us that we are in the evaluation mode, and this also tells you how many days we have left. Right, but otherwise, for example, if you don't have the proper, where there's VM license installed or out of compliance, you see the warning right here. For the magnifying glass, you can quickly search for things like endpoint MAC address, user, or devices. Just type the information right here. On the help menu, I think we saw this when we checked out the interactive help option. It's just basically take you to the same place, I believe. So you can see we did that with the onboarding. Yep, if you see the speech bubble like this, then those are interactive help. Right, otherwise, there's also links to an external ICE resources like a YouTube video or channel. As you can see, that it's the links to documentations. Okay, and they are categorized based on their use cases. The next icon over, these are configuration wizard, specifically for passive ID, visibility, and something new in 3.0, which is the run endpoint script. The last option on the right-hand side are settings. You got account settings, which give you a way to modify your email address, first, last name, change the password, description, as well as the language. Online helps is linked to documentation right there. What else do we have under there? Make a wish is just another link, and if you click on that, it basically takes you an external Cisco link to provide feedback on the product, as well as maybe feature requests. Server information is a quick way to check out your host name, the persona is running, the role. I guess very similar information that you can find on the deployment page or system times, the version, and whether or not there's a patch apply. And the last one is about page, right, which also gives you the product ID. I think we saw this information under the licensing page, which is just give you a quicker way to access that. And you can provide feedback as well. And with that, I think we have pretty much covered the majority, if not all, of the ICE GUI. I mean, we didn't go into too much detail into each section, but hopefully that gave you a pretty good idea of ICE overall GUI and where things are located. Now what we are going to do next is to dive into ICE configuration, starting with the next video with the certificate installation and node registration for a distributed deployment. And that wraps up our video on ICE 3.0 web interface and basic setup. You can visit our website to view an extensive list of our lab videos and sign up to get access to additional lab contents. Thank you for watching labminutes.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.